Welcome to show number one. We're going to hang out, and I hope you don't mind if I paint. So I'm just going to tell you what I've got going on here. I've got a canvas. It started black, and then I put a coat of black acrylic all over the whole thing and let it dry. After that, we put on a layer of clear oil, and just a little bit goes a long way. So that was completely covered with clear oil. I actually then brushed it with some paper towels because I got too much in several places. So got that ironed out. And now I've got some alizarin crimson and brown oil paint just kind of worked in here, but I left this area open because we're going to start there with our lightest part and just sort of see what happens. Now I'll put in the comments the colors I've got going around the palette, but to give it to you quick, there's white, black, brown, dark sienna, brown, sorry, alizarin crimson, 3 different yellows and a little bit of red, so we're ready when we sign it. So I've got a little oil running away on the midnight black there, so let's take care of that. And you may recognize some of the tools I'm using, maybe the big palette, heck, maybe even the frame. As the cool old guy that used to paint on PBS, at least when I was a kid and early teenager, I have no direct affiliation with that gentleman's company, or other than being a student and a huge fan. But this is neither endorsed nor opposed by anyone. This is, I got snake bit by loving to paint about 2 years ago, not even 2 years now, and have done about 300 of my own, maybe 325 now, and have had enough of my friends tell me that, you know, Dan, you ought to just record it and talk while you paint, because it seems like a cool thing to do. So welcome to the first attempt of that here in the home studio, which actually got a fresh coat of paint. These walls used to be covered floor to ceiling with my my paintings, but now they're all stacked up over there. That's another story altogether. So let's get rolling and just see what happens here. So I did see a painting like this done on one of those TV shows I mentioned on PBS. Of course, they're all on YouTube. They're so good to watch and just listen to. So what we're going to do is take some yellow ochre and some titanium white and just mix up a big old pile of it. I got a little more yellow than I wanted there, so let's throw some more white in there. The lesson there is go less with the dark color, because it's way easy to add more dark than it is to add and lighten it. But this is going to work out just fine. So it is a glorious May 12th, I believe is today, here in Central Florida, more specifically Ocala, and I hope it is a magnificent day where you are as well. Let's see, I'll probably wind up wearing some of that, which is just fine. A little paint never hurt nobody. All right, so we're just going to grab a 1-inch brush, because this is kind of a small canvas. This is, let's see, 16 by 20. And we're just going to start with our lightest area there. This is going to take quite a bit of paint to do what we wanted to do. So we're going to get the 1-inch brush good and loaded. For this particular application, I have not found that it really matters how you get it on there. You just want a pretty good old slog of paint. Well, now I can see that you can't see what I'm doing on the palette, so we'll fix that for show number 2. So we just got yellow and white here, and watch this. And don't forget, I left this area so it just got clear, and it kind of goes this way. So here's what we're going to do. We are just going to put in some color there, and I have done this a few different ways now, and I am finding that I really like it when we start using a little bit of curve action as you come away from the middle here, and you will say, Dan, boy, I think you have fouled up this painting. That ain't going to turn into nothing. Well, you may be right. You may be right. That happens from time to time, but thankfully you can pretty well roll with whatever happens. You may have I've heard those called happy accidents, and guess what? I would agree. So we're just going to kind of keep going from the middle out, because I don't want to grab any of this color that's out here and drag that back into my nice white and yellow combo. We'll do that in just a minute. So we're just going to see what happens here. So we got some cool light going out here from the middle. And it just takes a few minutes for this to really start turning into something. And I think that's about all we want coming out of the middle there like that. So we're going to go back down the middle with some bright colors so we can kind of reestablish that middle as that brightest part there. And we're almost going to just kind of turn this into, I've heard this described as a flame kind of shape. And that makes sense to me, so I kind of see it that way as well. So we're just going to kind of just keep working it a little bit and see what happens. I don't know about you, but I can start seeing some layers in the light here, and I just love that when that happens. So this will ultimately wind up being a wood scene. We may have some water down here. We're just going to have to kind of see how that all works out. So let's get a little more yellow. Make this a little more straight up and down, and bring our candle shape this way a little bit. Doesn't have to be balanced perfectly, of course, because we're talking about in the woods. So there we go. Now then, while we got that brush going, let's just put a few kind of crazy marks out here. This will be where some light's peeking through. Now we don't want to hit all this area with the light color, because that's not how it would be, and we really don't want much uniformity here. So the more haphazard, I would tell you, the better. So we're just going to kind of get some of those through there, maybe just come back and hit it a little bit more. And I think I like that. I think I'm happy with where that's gone, so we're going to leave it. So let's grab a clean, dry brush. It really is fun to smack the brush around like that. So now we're just going to blend these darker colors a little bit. And if you wear glasses, as I do, but I can't see with my glasses on and the light on, so I can take my glasses off. But the best description I have ever heard of blending this lighter part out like this is, if you wear glasses, take off your glasses, and it should look a little blurry. That's what you're going for there. But I'm going to try not to mess up what we got going here, because we're going to put some trees in front of it and some other stuff. So we're just going to kind of smack off the extra paint we've picked up there. And again, I don't know if you can hear the brush hitting the canvas, but I am barely kissing it. It may sound like it's really scraping along there, but I can assure you I am barely touching it. And that is starting to blur out nicely from where I'm standing, so I'm hoping that's coming through on the canvas. Let's just go kiss these other parts a little touch more, because we can always come back and add it fresh if we need to. But I don't think we're going to need to. So let's leave that one there as it is. And now, let's set that to the side. Now before we get too crazy and go too much further, I'm going to come in with that same light colored brush that we used to do this part. Still got the same paint on there. And I really feel like I want some water here. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in now, at least the starts of it. And then we're going to come back and brighten that up with just some white. But I'm not going to get much more paint, because it's not going to take much. And I'm just going to, well, you'll see it. I'll just stop talking and you'll see it here in a minute. So let's just start. A lot of times you would start at the bottom and go up if you're on a white canvas and blend in with liquid white, but it will make all the difference starting far away and then coming towards us in this particular style of painting I have found. So we start a little more narrow under the bright spot there. And this is going to start picking up some of that color. Remember, I put brown and some alizarin crimson down here. Keep these strokes basically flat for now, because that'll, oopsie, that's where it just happened for me. I just saw the water kind of do that, and I love it when that happens. I don't know if you saw that too, but I hope so. And any parts we don't like, we'll cover up with some dirt or some trees or some cool happy little bushes or anything like that now. I like what we've got going there so far, so I'm going to take that same brush we were blending color with, just because it doesn't have much paint on it, and I just want to kind of knock the brightness and the edge off of that, but not really put any more paint on it, because you got to save some of your dark areas to show off that light. So we're going to leave that and just kind of come by like that. So see how it just sort of knocks the extra brightness off of that, but I kind of like that one back there, and I certainly like what we got happening back here. I don't know. Well, I'd rather be lucky than good just about every day of the week. I do like that. Let's step back. Excuse me, beverage is over here. Cool. So let's get that part brightened up, and then we're going to put some trees in and really get crazy with this thing. So let's take a clean, dry brush, and it doesn't take much. So we're just going to pick up some titanium white here on the palette. And again, I haven't found that it really makes a difference on how you get the paint in there, but you just want, can't tell if you can see that or not, but maybe we're going to get a little more than that because that yellow is pretty thick right here. So we're just going to pick out where our lightest spot is, and then just put that in right there, and just sort of blend it a little bit. And then we're going to knock off the yellow we just picked up, get a little more white, and bring that down here. And it's going to need to kind of get knocked sideways a little bit. See what's happening there? So it looks more like water back there. And I left space for this white to come down, and we'll actually even put a little bit brighter white in there, but that's not, we're not ready for that step yet. We're a few minutes away from that yet. So that kind of helps push that water back, and I feel like we need more bright white, because what I did there, it kind of left a hole there. So we're going to start a little higher and just kind of bring that in a little bit like that. And we're going to put a bunch of trees and branches over a lot of this, but just be happy with it where you're leaving it. So, right on. Speaking of trees, let's drop some in. So we're just going to grab a groovy little fan brush. Let's take some brown and a little dark sienna, so it's not just straight brown. We want a little bit lighter, and these guys are going to go in the background and fade off pretty quickly. And that's going to be super cool. You're going to like that. Then we'll do some stuff in here. So we literally just have some brown and dark sienna on here, and we're just going to decide where some trees live. And maybe one lives right down to there. We'll pick up a little more paint just because I'm sure we got a little yellow on there, and that's fine. And let's just bring this guy. Ooh, lives right there. I want the next one to be a little darker because it's going to be a little further out here in the woods. And maybe he got pushed over by a little wind. Oh, maybe he lives right there in front of our other cool tree. I like that one. That turned out pretty good. Sometimes you're going to have a second big old branch on a tree, so why not add him there now? Kind of like that. Man, that's cool. I love this way of painting. I never fancied myself as an artist, quite frankly, never even thought about it. If I was a better student, if you judge by my penmanship, I probably should have gone to med school, because you can't read my handwriting. That's okay, neither can I. But for some reason, this kind of painting just makes my heart smile, makes it go pitter-patter, and I just sort of get lost. So you can have to listen back to this, but we're not going to edit it. We're just going to roll with whatever falls out of the brush and out of my head. Let's put another branch on here, or maybe just a bigger part of that tree. Man, I just love how that turns out like that. It just looks like it took hours and hours to do, and that's just not the case. So we're going to get our cleanest dry brush, and now watch this. We're going to do this very gently, but remember how we knocked down the light in the back? We're going to do the same to these trees, so they kind of go whoosh and get pushed back a little bit. So we're just going to put them in, just knock them down a little bit the same way we put them in. So vertical up and down here, and I'm just being careful not to just beat the snot out of our color there. Save that for just beating the brush. And you can be a little more aggressive in the dark area because you can't see. And yep. But see how just knocking that edge down just helps them push back there into the painting. And we'll push these guys way back since we put them in the dark. So that's just kind of fun. And there you go. There you go. I do wonder if I'd ever tried painting earlier in my life, if I'd have enjoyed it as much. For some reason, I don't think so. I don't think back in the days when I drank way too much, this would have had the same joy for me. So I'm quite thankful that we're sneaking up on 2 years this July. Lori and I actually took that class on July 18th, our 22nd wedding anniversary, and this go round it'll be 24. So that's just kind of exciting all the way around. Lots of good there. Right then, let's take and get some bushes back here and kind of start having some fun. So we are going to take some of that yellow and white combo that we made and put just a touch of alizarin crimson in it, just to pink it just a smidge, so we've got a different shade of what's happening here in this part. And that'll make sense here in just a second, because I want to just put just some faint indications of some trees and bushes and whatever your eye will see back there in the back. Now this is a little oval brush. I like this little guy, a little 1-inch oval. You can make all kinds of cool shapes with this. So initially, I'm just going to, let's see if I can show you this, just tap in the top corner, and if you can see what's happening to the paint, it's kind of standing up like rough stucco or tiny version of what used to be popcorn ceilings. Well, it's doing that same thing on the brush. And so now we're going to set our land level somewhere in here, and so here where it's the brightest and off in the distance, we are just going to put just ever so slightly, because they would certainly be picking up a lot of that color, and just tapping in some basic shapes at this point. Nothing real specific. A lot of this will likely get covered with some other things, but that does show through will make a lot of sense when we get a little further along in this baby. And it's really the layers and the depth that just make these things, they just kind of sing and talk to you if you just sort of listen and quiet all the noise in your head. And man, I'd encourage you to give this a go if you ever want to. So we're going to put a few more. If you just sort of vary the intensity here, they'll look a little bit different on distance and that sort of thing. And now, yeah, let's do that now. So we're going to get just a dot of paint thinner, just so I can thin up some of that brown. So I just want to add some faint tree branches back here. So I've just got a little script liner brush, a little bit of paint thinner on there, and it's just so this paint will just flow. And this is really kind of neat. I hope you dig this, because I sure dig it every time it happens and it works. So way back here, maybe we're just going to start the faintest little indication of some trees. And the shakier your hand can get, the better it is for these. I have found to not even try to use my hand, more so using my shoulder or kind of the big muscles of the part of your arm that's holding the brush there. When I try to do too much with my hand, it proves I'm really not an artist. So I try not to do that too often. But I love the branches. And don't worry, we're going to cover up a lot of this stuff. So they sort of look like a few pitchforks right now. Sometimes they'll turn into looking like antlers, and that's kind of cool when that happens. Who knows? Maybe there is a deer back there. And you can't tell really where they go, and they just sort of go like that. And as they get out in the light, they get brighter and brighter. So now we're going to start bringing in some darker. So let's do this. I'm going to grab the brush that I actually put the crimson and the brown on. Is that one? Let's see. Maybe it's this one. Nope, that's the other one. I have several brushes, so forgive me while I get myself confused. So here we're going to put in some to just sort of to put in some shape, and I'm going to use brown initially. Just going to tap a pretty good amount into the brush. And then we're just going to be painting with the corner of the brush initially to get some shape. And you'll see what I'm talking about here in a second. So if we're out in the woods, there's going to be branches that just sort of hang down in all kinds of different directions. And we're going to come back that way. But if we just sort of put some, and maybe there's a few that cross over, and see how that's picking up a little bit of that light. And well, that's what would happen, I think, if I were out in the woods and looking at this. That's pretty well how I think it would look. So let's get a little more brown and some more alizarin crimson, or no, dark sienna rather, excuse me. And now we'll just put in some, and we're going to put some little variations on that, and we're going to put some branches on there. Don't you worry about that. We'll come back to that. I'm going to pick up a little black, just because as I work over here on this side, to me it would get darker and darker over there, so I want these shapes to be black. And then we're going to figure out and just put in a few highlights here shortly. And a lot of this is just putting in the indication of things, so varying our shape a little bit, and a little bit different on pressure, just because these are not going to be just straight away. A lot are going to go different ways and cross over with the next tree over here and get a little lighter in some of these lighter areas. Whew, I like how that light is working out. And every now and then I just step back and kind of take a look at what we're working on. So picking up some more dark here. And let's just start putting in a few like this. Picking up too much light, I'll roll over and use the other corner of the brush there. And off it goes like that. Now I think it's a great time to add some of those branches you were worried about. I could tell you were worried about those. That's okay. I appreciate you looking out for me, because I've forgotten before. But now we'll come back in. And I just try to remember that branches go every which way, so they don't just grow from the front side of the tree. So over here they might go like that, and over here they might come across the tree. And then you got to just jump over and do this one over here. And this. I've also found that breaking this up for me helps me not get those tree branches just looking flat, because I've struggled with that before, where I just get carried away and just get to banging away on the branches part, and then all of a sudden all the leaves look like they're just chopped out of whatever. It just, I don't like it, and it frustrates me, and, well, it makes me say bad words. Not really. But I sort of look at it and go, oh man, I forgot to do that, and try to learn something, and you're not going to see a lot of these because we will cover them up with some more branches here, but this is just so much fun to paint those. I don't know about you, but daggum if those don't look like tree branches. I just love it. Love it every time. So sometimes you get a big branch and it'll go like that. And over here might cross over the neighbor and you say, Dan, is your tree all shaky bakey? Well, in my world, yeah. If you're painting your trees and they're crazy smooth, awesome. I'd love to see them. Because there is not a wrong way. I have never walked out in the woods and gone, that tree ain't right. So again, let's kind of step back, see where we're going. Yeah, and see I'm going to, well, we're just going to cover that up a lot because I want to change how that sort of looks. That was interesting thought I was having on the craziness of this light here. So thanks for just going with me on that. And we're going to see what happens here. And what else do we need? How about maybe there's a little sprig tree kind of trying to break his way up into the world, or her way. I can't tell, boys or girls, trees. I think they're just all happy to be in the forest. Let's not leave this side out, so we'll put a little something in there. Maybe there's a little tree that goes this way, and then his branches kind of go that way. Maybe that one's in front of that tree. Who knows, who knows, who knows? Always cracks me up when paint thinner and liquid clear talk, because they do not get along. So you get a few reactions like that. It looks a little funny in the painting part, but once it dries, it generally works out quite well. So I'm not too worried about that at all. All right, enough of that. Let's move on to, let's put some more branches and big stuff in there. I do also like to come back in with this and pick up a darker color, the smaller brush, and we're going to put some ground coverage in here, and then we're going to figure out kind of how are we going to come down to the water here. So before we do that, let's put in a little more light color, but let's pick up just a smidge more alizarin crimson, so it's slightly darker pink, because we're going to be, in my eye, on this side of the light, like coming this way, so we would see a little bit, well, that's a little too pink for me right there, so let's get a little more. You can always just nub a smidge of brown, I think. I don't know a lot about color, but I've heard that before. You can just kind of grab some brown to knock down that color a little bit. And we'll just kind of add another layer in. That'll also put some foots on some of the trees we put back here. And now I'm going to see like a big, here I'll just show you, it's easier to show you. I just sort of see the ground kind of falling straight down this hill back here. And then we'll figure out the rest of it as we come around this corner. But I'm trying to fight doing straight lines and such, but leave that little dark area in there because it really helps with the depths. So that is tough for me to do, because if I get these little bushes going the way I want, boy, I wear them out. It's like, attack of the bushes. And then by the time I've realized it, too late. I've ate up all my dark. But I noticed it there before we got too crazy. So let's just kind of tap in some cool fuzz on this side of the hill. And we're just going to kind of see what happens. So put all that cool light in there. So there's going to be some cool stuff happening out here in the woods, I would say. Wouldn't you say so? We'll just put in a few little things. And we'll come back and address more of this and kind of blend some and just kind of have some fun with it. So here, I'm going to take a quick step back. Do we like what's happening? Yeah, we're doing all right so far. So let's get some more dark color going. I want some brown. I'm going to pull that over here and mix it with some black so we get a nice, just real dark color, and then we'll be putting on some highlights in some of this. So let's get in here and we'll put in some dark color. And what has helped me with form and shape on some of these is not going straight across. It's kind of rolling the brush. Now this, it does help how you load the brush. So tap that in there and you get a ridge of paint on there. And there's going to be, if you see a ridge on your palette, there's going to be a ridge on your brush. And that's basically the part you'd be painting with. I hope that subscribe to somebody on YouTube and help that make more sense to you, because that's about all the teaching part I know there. And you say, Dan, that's way too dark for that light there. Relax, relax. Maybe in your world it is, maybe not in mine. Maybe we're going to lighten it up. So just let it happen. Just let it happen. See how that's covering up a lot of those brushes or branches we created? Well, that's okay. I think that just sort of knocks off some of the starkness of them and kind of makes them look like they belong there and belong together. It's also helped me not to go so aggressively across the trunks of the trees with the big brush. I do like doing that more so with the little one. So I'm going to switch to this little guy, and we're going to put on, let's just add a little dark sienna to this mix and see what kind of color we get. If that's more of a, yeah, that'll do for a highlight color here. So we're just going to kind of come in and just touch, 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 touch. And it's going to knock down some of that darkness you may or may not have been worried about with a little bit of light. But don't forget, just like life, man, you need a little darkness to show the light. You know what light has to do to win over that darkness? Just show up. Just show up. Light comes on, darkness flees. Man, that just helps my brain when I think about stuff like that. Light zinging through here and lightness. Light conquering the dark. Think about where the light's coming through, but that's about it. I don't get too crazy with it. On this one, there's some light zinging through this underside, maybe a crack or two zinging through, kind of like that. And again, just kind of vary it, mix it up. That's what happens in the woods I look in. And not too much. Again, easy to get carried away, but try not to. If you do, that's all right. You're painting your world. Do it how you like. That's what I'm going to do. And sometimes I don't like the whole thing, but of course that's why I keep coming back to paint over and over again, I think. I think that's part of the magic. So if you're ever 1,000% satisfied with it, why would you keep going? Always room to improve and do a little better than you did before. Isn't that true? Add a little more bright color to this, getting back over here to the light part. Yeah, I'm digging what's happening there. But see, this is where in a lot of paintings, I feel like I run out of creative gas, juice, whatever you want to call it. So I want to jump down here to the ground and figure out what we're going to do there. And that's just so I don't lose what's left of my marbles. And that's all right. But see, now we've kind of addressed, whoops, little rocky on the camera. That's what happens when you step too far away from the microphone cord. Oh, sorry, sometimes I do crack myself up. So what was I talking about? I don't know. Oh, I like how we've got some of this covered up, so it's really changed the way that light was looking there. And so now I think we need to add some big bushes, like kind of, you'll see what I'm talking about. Again, I can't explain it so good. So now this is important, how you're going to load the brush if you're going to do bushes like this. So I'm going into straight black onto our dirty dark brush, and I'm just pulling it towards me in one direction. So it's going to kind of curve the upper edge of that brush, and I'm going to push that in, and we're going to get a bunch of cool shapes. So watch this. You may not be able to see the darkness, but I just need to vary that a little bit so I don't wind up with the old famous turkey tail. And I just want some of that kind of blocking in like that. Go back, pull the same one direction, and then back in here. Now I'm just using kind of the corner of the brush because I want this to look like it's in front of these trees. And this is just giving me shape and something to put some highlights on. So don't worry if you can't see these too well, or you're like, man, you've really just fouled up what was going to be an okay painting. Give me a minute. And I think this tree actually continues on up here. So we're going to kind of keep this guy going in front of this little branch. And then we're going to put some other color highlight on that, just so it's got kind of letting the world know it's over here, you know. Nothing wrong with that. A little self-promotion now and then. We're going to do some other stuff to draw that other side in, but so let's get our cool brush that we're still working on. You know what? Let's just pick up some straight yellow ochre. Maybe even a little cad yellow just to brighten that a smidge. Add a little Indian yellow. Man, it's just kind of a crazy kind of color we've got over here. And now we're just going to see, is that enough of a difference? I don't know if you can see that. I can see that pretty well from where I'm standing, that it's just enough of a difference there. Let me brighten it up just a smidge with a little more yellow. Well, whatever. Those of you who really understand art and colors are probably tuned out by now, or your toes have curled, and I don't mean in the good way, because I know I don't speak art lingo very well. That's right, I can see that difference. I like that color, so that's what's happening in my world of painting today. Let's just pretend we got some other leafy things kind of happening, hanging on the tree there, catching some of this cool light that's just singing through right here. Because it could just be like, not going to get too much on the dark side of this tree, but we'd get some right there, I think. So let's pick a little more of that up. And just, and these also make great shapes if you kind of do push up. Don't let it slide now, but if you just push up, it will kind of look like some grassy things, and you can sort of just keep on touching it, and it will do just magical things for you, especially as you get down here towards the water. Don't forget, like I said, we're going to come in there and give us some land and that sort of stuff. So I'm pretty happy with what we got going on so far here. Let's get a little bit more of that bright yellow. So cad yellow here just tapped into our brush, because I'm going to put some of the same kind of grass here. And if it's too bright, then there's enough dark on the canvas we could just keep tapping it a bit to let it mute down a little bit. But I actually like that. I like a little bright spot to call some attention to itself and be like, hey, look at me, look at me. Especially when I do this. You feeling brave? I'm feeling pretty brave. So let's go for some straight brown. And I'll tell you, it is time to drop in a big old honking tree. So here you go, big old honking tree. right into our painting. How about that? So let's put a branch that comes off of said tree right like that. How about that? For a big old honking tree. And maybe up here he's got an arm that just sort of comes down and joins like that. And then down here at the base, what if he's got some feet that we just sort of put him down in the ground? Tree's got to stand up on his also, right? So we're just going to put a little bit of that there. You can pick up some of that ground color. See how cool that is? And we're going to put a little something around his footsies so he's standing there real good. Isn't that fun? So fun. All right, let's get a big old tree like that. We'll certainly have some branches we could see. So let's grab our liner brush again. Get back into some of our brown, thin as ink. Thin, thin, thin. The thinner it is, the better. You may have a bit of a war with your liquid clear on your canvas, but it will settle down, or it may have a little bit run. But either way, you'll be all right. You'll figure out how much to use and how much not to use. Experience in this is often the best teacher. Boy, isn't that true? Yeah, man. That's what I learned how to do something is normally do it wrong. At least that's been my experience. I don't know about yours. But see, then if you get one you didn't really like how it turned out, just drag some color on it. It'll look like a tree. There you go. All right, let's put some leaves on that bad boy. See, it doesn't take a lot. What are we going to do? I've been liking this one, what we were doing with this bright yellow. So let's dull that color back down. We're going to grab brown, some alizarin crimson, just so we get a little bit darker color to go kind of crazy with here. And if this color is getting too thick now, we will either add a little liquid white or a little touch, and I mean little touch, of paint thinner. But let's just see what happens. Well, that's a pretty good looking tree branch there. I kind of like that. So, happy accidents are some of my favorite things to paint with. I could have tried to draw that, which I cannot do. We could have tried to figure out how that was going to happen that way. I don't know how to do that. Or just go for it, man. And leave some areas in there so you can see through that branch, because that will makes it what looks like it's way, way, way back there. I think those are called layers. Depth in your painting. And just do the indication. Our eyes are pretty magical creations that will fill in so much detail for us if we sort of just let it happen. And I don't want to piddle with this too much more because I am pretty pleased with what we got going there. So now watch. I've still got this dark color. I want to put some down here on the ground, and let's just see. Let's see what we get here. Is that too pink for us? Too much color? I don't know. I kind of like it. Maybe it's a little bit of mistiness, a little bit of shade on this side of the tree. Or shadow, rather. Shade. Nighttime feels like sunset, sunrise. I don't know. Your call. See, I just like what starts happening, and you just can't overplan it. You can overplan it, and then it won't work. So let's just put some of this color on this side, just so it feels a little bit balanced. But again, don't kill all your dark, Dan. Just leave some. There you go. So, I think we may see a path happening right back here. Let's put in a little land so our stuff doesn't fall in. And I think we're probably going to need to drop another big tree in on this side. And then I think we're going to be done. Let's do a quick time check here because I do have an appointment today. 11:08. All right, we got a little time to keep on rolling. So let's grab our palette knife. Let's go with some dark sienna. Let's add to that a little bit of white. I'm just going to mix this, leave it kind of marbly on the palette there, and we're just going to kind of just put in what we think the land would be. So let's just touch and pull gently, touch and pull, touch and pull. We'll make it a little bigger as we get over here. Pick up a little more paint. I will set up next time so I can show you the palette better, because I just think that's cool. I've always liked watching the paint roll happen. I hope you do too. And you can just kind of vary how you do this, because it's not all going to come down to the water the exact same way for sure. And while we're doing this, let's go ahead and cut in that path I was talking about. So I'm going to get it on the little edge of the knife. Just kind of cut us in a path. We're going to have it get a little wider, have a little motion to it, and then we're going to do something so it is seated real good back there, but I think it would come this way. So if I were walking in these woods, I would get down here by this water, because I just think it's so cool. And then you probably need a way to get back home to get a sandwich, so maybe the path needs to go that way for you too. And you know what? Let's just get a little dark paint in there and make sure that path goes back deep in the woods. Almost like we can't see where it goes. Because guess what? We don't really care. A little dark just kind of adds that. And we'll put some grass, and like I said, we'll get another tree on there, and it'll be great. So let's do a little more of our brown color. That's actually not quite dark enough for me, so let's go a little darker. Come here, brown. Whoop. Not with the paint thinner in it. That'd be tough to do. But leave it all marbly. You don't need it all perfect color, because if your dirt were all a perfect color, it just wouldn't look right to you. So that's pretty cool. So now we've got our land. Now we've got water, and we've got dark and dark meeting. So let's put a line of what that is. I will put my phone in airplane mode next time. And excellent. We are also hosting a Kickstart My Art home group here through church. I'm very excited. That's what that text was about, but I do apologize for having my phone on during the show. That we will remedy. Or who knows, maybe we'll start taking calls live on the air. So, you know what? I just want straight liquid white for this. That will be easier and go so smooth. So I've just added some liquid white to the canvas, and I am just going to get a tiny little roll out there on the edge of the knife, and I'm just going to cut this in just barely. That's a little too much, so we'll just dot that off. And this is just going to help us define the difference between land and water. And it's going to go on very light colored because it's bright white. I'm going to come back and just rub that a little, and it will pretty well disappear and do exactly what we want. So, and I'm pressing pretty hard, and my goal here is to keep these strokes pretty level and even up the edge of my water so that it doesn't feel like it's going to run off the canvas. And need a bucket over there on the side, because our eyes will not like that. We'll just look at it and be like, man, something ain't right with that painting. I don't know what it is, but I don't like it. And getting your water level is just one of those kind of things. But see how that just changes that shoreline a little bit? Isn't that cool? See, this is too bright for me. I mean, yeah, we're right here in the brightest part of the sunlight, so we'll leave some of it there. But we still need to we don't want to steal the thunder of the, I don't know, what is that? Angel descending, angel going up? I don't know. I think it's pretty cool looking. So there we go, got a little water line in there. Let's drop one more tree, and I think we are gonna probably be calling this one pretty well done. Maybe we'll have a big tree here and a big one there just to sort of bookend it in. What do you think about that? So we're gonna take our fan brush again. I've just about killed all my brown that I got out, and I really don't want to stop to pull any more in. So let's just take some dark sienna, we'll steal a little black, and that's fine. We'll highlight these, so the darker the better, really. Gotta have dark to show light. And ready? You're feeling brave? It's gonna be big. Let's go. Let's hit one on the other side, then we'll come back and add some branches. And let's go. See how it picks up that color and makes that side brighter anyway? I'd love to take credit for that, but that really does just happen. So, what would I do? Fall sideways there? Let's make this guy just a little wider then. Oh, that's a powerful tree there. That's what we like to see. Big, strong trees. Ah, yes, sir. Big tree, big tree, big tree. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So, we're going to do the same back over here. Maybe just beef this one up a smidge so it's a little stronger looking. This also helps set everything else back into the background that we've worked so hard on. So, if we've had some fun thus far, well, let's finish it off strong and good and just be happy with it through and through. So we're going to need a big branch on this side, and they should probably have an arm over here, and this one would probably have some kind of little arm that joined that one, I think. So we'll put some quick branches on, do some leaves, figure out how we're closing out here at the bottom with that tree. Sometimes I like a big old branch that comes in from the side and goes off the page. Why not? If you saw my hand shaking there, that's because it just helps the brush kind of do its magical thing. So there we go. Folks, we are hitting the home stretch. How exciting is that? We've got some liquidy thin as ink brown here, just for some indications of branches. Do you see how I'm doing these faster than before? And if I had to tell you my opinion thus far, these are better than the first ones I did, because I was taking too long doing that, trying too hard, trying to make them look like trees instead of just doing it. You know what I'm saying? Man, just turn it loose. Whatever's in there, just turn it loose from you. It'll be better for you if you give it away anyway. I like what we got going there. Let's do a few over here. And see how it just helps set everything else behind it back there? Man, so cool. Looks like he spent hours and hours and hours and hours trying to do things in all these little layers. Just not required. You know what I also like to do every now and then? Is just kind of have one that's just short. And what if it's broken? It's the cycle, right? Things live, things die. It's just what happens. Excellent. So let's put in some ground for these to stand on. Do some highlights, some leaves on them, and we will call it done. So I'm just loading up the big brush again because we're going to put in some pretty dark color here. So this is where our trees live and stand, and I'm really just putting in the dark, like I've said before, to give me some place to put a highlight. And I also just want to make it clear in the painting that we're not in the middle of the water. So we're kind of capping in that water right here, and we'll do that with some good highlights here in just a second. And sometimes it's fun to quick drag it through that one way so we can do some taller, maybe bushier kind of things like this But it doesn't, there's really no wrong way. You really could do this part with a roller. That'll look like more ground there. Just cover up this. I don't like seeing what I think is water there, so I'm just going to cover some of that up. But I like the little squigglies there because we're going to get some great highlights on there. Let's go back here. Let's see, in there I think we'd have more crimson. So let's go crimson in our very first bright yellow color. So we'll just kind of get a pinkyish, yellowish kind of something happening. Just let them mix on the brush and let's see what happens. Oh, I like that. I like that right there. That's pretty. And see that dark really doesn't matter what shape that would have been there. See how that worked out? And we can go up here because we put that nice color there, and maybe we just got these little buttes right down here. Don't forget, we got to keep the dark so we can show the light. I'm thinking I'm pretty pleased with what's happening there. So we're going to go the other way on this one. We're going to tap these up a little bit and see what kind of shape we get on top of these taller flowers. I like that because it looks kind of like they're curling this way over the water. And now we'll just tap in a little bit because this will come out much darker and really finish off the lay of the land behind it here. But you see, I'm kind of getting out of my own head. And I don't know if it's coming through on the tape, but it sure looks better to me just going kind of quickly when you've got a sort of picture of how you'd like it to be in your head. Just let it out. Trees on the big one, or leaves on the big one. That's what we got to do. Last thing. Almost forgot. You thought I was gonna. I almost did. You're absolutely right. So we're just gonna put on some leaves. Let's make it a little darker than that though. What we got going on there. Let's just pick up some of everything and we're just making a darker version of it, but a little bit lighter because it's coming over here. Ooh, I like that one. This one's been fun. I promise you I will do all I can to speed these up a smidge, keep them interesting, but guess what? This is me hanging out painting, and I hope you're digging it. If you've hung with me this long, I appreciate it. Thank you for being here for the first one. I hope you've got either painting or some kind of passion in your life you can go spend the rest of part of this day with. And I'm going to give that a couple hours to dry. And then we will sign that bad boy. So look at this. Not quite 1 hour. We'll get it down to a half hour, I think. And have a great afternoon. See ya.